So for today's class, we're reading Act 3, and we get to what we could say is the central line of this whole play here in Scene 1 on page 37. It's just after Bottom has been translated. He's no longer a simple human being, but now he's half an animal. He's got an ass's head, a donkey's head, and his human body, and he doesn't quite realize that he's making a lot of noise. Titania then was sleeping underneath the love potion that has the magical property that she'll be madly in love with the first thing she sees when she wakes up, and Bottom, with his noise, wakes her up. So suddenly, a goddess is in love with him. Some way, the most humiliating moment of his life, which may just be the truth. Perhaps Bottom is an ass. He's certainly got a very healthy ego, which gets him into trouble, or at least risks making a fool of himself. He's so confident about everything. So Bottom, in some way, his lowest moment is suddenly at his highest moment, loved by a divine being, even when he's at his worst. And we see that he sums up the situation quite clearly. Lines 135 and 136 here on page 37. Starting with Bottom's line. "Methinks, mistress, you should have little reason for that." And so she declares her love for him, and he says, "Methinks, that is, it's my opinion, I think, that you don't have any reason to be in love with me. And yet, to say the truth, reason and love keep little company together nowadays." And that's the central line. So love is one thing and reason is another. They don't get together. So nowadays, right, in these times, to keep company is to be together. That's what a company is in common speech, people who work together. So to keep company is to be regularly together. But they keep little company. They're not regularly together. Reason goes one way and love goes another. He imagines them as two great citizens of the same town. This is sort of his metaphor. And nobody ever introduced them and makes them friends. You're living university life if you cannot understand the great sense and probability of this line. Reason and love keep little company together nowadays. Then perhaps you should consult your experience more. Now, at the end of the last class session, we got into this question: is love reasonable? And of course, that's a vital question for this play. Plays don't really answer questions. They give us stimulation for our thoughts. They're not science experiments. They don't prove anything. But they give us ways to add new thoughts, and they can guide our reflections. They don't prove things one way or another, but they can make us ask this question: is love reasonable? And you certainly could say no. I think that, but no, they're not reasonable. That is not the answer of this play. And one way to frame the question is to ask, who should lead us on our experience of this play? Whose view of things should guide us? Should it be Bottom? Should he be our guide into what love is and how it works? Or should it be Theseus? Now, Bottom, of course, is a ridiculous character, one of the clowns, just to go by the stage direction. And that's not necessarily a judgment on him. He's a clown, but do we like him or do we dislike him? So, it's one of the questions of life. I assume people know the Simpsons, although I'm typing myself as for a person from away, but. Who do you prefer, Bart Simpson or Lisa Simpson? They both have their good qualities, but Bart being a comic character and a boy of low appetites doesn't mean that we dislike him. So bottom, we recognize his lowness, but we don't necessarily despise him. Perhaps we enjoy his enjoyment of things, just as we do with Bart Simpson or all other low comic characters. But Theseus is clearly more respectable. Theseus is a mythical figure of great heroism and power, and he's got much dignity in this play, unlike Bottom, whose dignity is not that great to begin with, and even reduced lower by the magic of the play, by being reduced to an animal. And at the beginning of Act 5, we'll see that Theseus lays out a kind of theory that love and reason just don't have anything to do with one another. So he will articulate a point of view that some of you might take through life, that love is not reasonable. In this first speech, you can pay attention when we get to read it. Hippolyta says she brings up the topic of the stories the lovers are telling about their experiences in the night. And Theseus says, I don't believe them, and I don't believe anything like that. And when it comes to love, I think that's like poetry. And both of those are like insanity. They're all products of a feverish imagination. The thing with being insane is that you see things that aren't there. Your imagination rules you in ways it should not. And poets and lovers are like that. That's what he says. And the essence of love, then, is according to Theseus in this speech, the essence of love is to see something that's not there. All through the play, the lovers think of the people they love as, they see them as happiness. It's somehow beyond thinking that they're the cause of happiness, or thinking, this person has a superior character. That it would be good to spend a lot of time with this person. This person would make a good partner for life. All of those decisions seem too reasonable. That the lovers seem to think that the beloved person just is happiness, and that anything, running through fire, going through any hardship or any danger, would be worth it, just to be with this person. Helena says of Demetrius, if I owned the whole world, I'd give it all away just so I could have Demetrius. That, when I'm alone with Demetrius, I'm not alone at all, because he's the whole world, and so I'm with everybody. This seems to be the attitude of love. And Theseus makes the sensible point that this cannot be true. You could only have that attitude toward a person if you were not seeing reality. So anybody of a realistic temperament, you have Theseus to articulate your point of view. And because Shakespeare writes the words, he will say it better than any of us could say it. And this is one possibility in the play. And the highest human being, and the highest character except for the divine magical ones, the highest human being articulates this point of view. Love is not reasonable. Love is a form of insanity, because people don't measure up to what love wants. That's not the truth of people. And this is not the truth of the message of this play, but it is something, it is a possibility given the strongest possible expression. And that comes through Theseus here at the beginning of Act 5, which we'll get through to in a couple of classes.